Hey guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to Pommy and Oz. I hope we're all doing really well. It's nearly the weekend, which means the footy's back tonight, and we're going to do a preview of Gold Coast Suns. Can Carlton continue and go on a bit of a winning roll? We'll find out. If you are new around here though, first of all, please, all I ask is you drop a like and just drop a subscribe on the video if you haven't already. It does mean the world, and if you want to share it to your socials, give the Pom some love. We are on the road to 1,000, not far away. So let's get into it. We've got a lot to cover today in a new little feature for us. So let's look at them then. Head to head, Carlton lead this fixture 8-5. And we are coming off the back of a 45-point win versus Freo. Now we know that Carlton, the first couple of weeks, the pressure wasn't there, and they really did amplify that pressure, which is the key to winning matches. It was a very impressive performance all in all, albeit against, you could say, a weakened Fremantle side, but Carlton did have them injuries themselves, but it was more how they responded from the weeks ahead, and if they can take that momentum and carry it forward, it did show signs that they're going to be very, very tough to beat. Gold Coast, they're coming off a 10-point defeat to the Crows. Both sides, incidentally, are 1 and 2. And Gold Coast, we know, they have suffered horrifically with injuries. Matt Rowell went down first, and now Jared Witts, Conray and Zach Smith are both out injured, which looks like Graham and Burgess will be fulfilling the ruck duties moving forward. Now, what do we know about Gold Coast Suns? Well, Gold Coast Suns this year have shown quite a heavy kick to mark game style. They do really look to enter inside 50 as well as quickly as possible. They are actually ranked as the #1 kicks per game and marks per game and tackles per game for this side. So they do really defend quite grittily. They look to really impact. Top 5 for inside 50s and clearances. And it is one of the things that they are doing very well at. They're being very prudent and hard to break down. They're very regimented in between their midfield and their back line. The pressure starts early as well with this side. And it's how sides have really coped with that. We found that, as you can see here in the negatives, 3/4 side and run and carry sides have had success. Run and carry is one of the greatest ways to break a forward press, and any pressure in the midfield, it spreads, and that is usually where sides, because of that third quarter syndrome that they have, has kind of ran them ragged. It's a very energetic game plan if you watch the Gold Coast Suns play, and it is tough. Also, what we have found with them is, particularly in the second half, they are one of the worst sides at giving up goal assists and kicks inside 50 that go to marks. It kind of does come unstuck. It's the application. It is a young side, and it is a side that is kind of finding their bearings really in the AFL. And it is where sides do have the movement ahead of the ball is really king for them. And it's one of the ways to break them down. The things to look out for in this game really, from a Carlton perspective, as is the entries inside to Harry. It's particularly if you're getting that early delivery, looking to penetrate with a nice low penetrating kick that we know Zach Williams likes to exploit. You've got it. It's also dummy leads. Very important. Gold Coast, if you watch the West Coast game, having two forwards that work in sync, that are offering that help. If Gold Coast have the luxury of deploying two on Harry, they will end up winning that battle. It's very hard for Harry to beat two men all day long. We are looking for dummy leads. You're looking at Eddie Betts. He did that really well against Fremantle. And we're looking at, if Mitch McGovern comes in, that is something that he specialises in, particularly in his time at Adelaide, of being that second, being that kind of foil to work off. Movement ahead of the ball is so important. Structurally, the Gold Coast are quite sound. They really do cover their areas well. It's a very solid system. But you've got to keep on moving. You've got to stretch them. If they get into a plateau and they get into a rhythm, their backline can handle most problems. That is how you do it. If you watch the Adelaide game particularly, a lot of movement, a lot of chaos going ahead of the ball, looking for them easy uncontesteds to really work your way and really dissect the system. The way that they work, but even without any ruckman, this will still work. Their midfield trio are very apt at the clearance game and are very apt at playing a contested type of game. You want to try and get this ball outside. We'll be looking for Walsh, we'll be looking for Cripper and Williams to really look to spread that away from the contest. As soon as they win, they should get domination with Pettinet against two guys that aren't traditional ruckmen. And that is where we're looking. Try and get it on there. And switched on and intensity is so important. It is probably important in all the other games. But Carlton, traditionally, in the last first 2 games didn't do that. They really applied it there. But one stat for us that is really important is our ability to move the ball. Metres gained, we are one of the top 3 sides in the comp with it. And we know metres gained, I can't stress to you, it's one of the few metrics in the AFL that says which sides are good. Metres gained is an incredibly important stat for us, and it's something that we do very well. We get the ball moving very quickly, very fast, and it is something here that will be very important to mix that up with your intensity, looking to be physical, really put pressure on their midfielders, create the mistakes from them, and look to go, because they do stifle the short ball. They look to make you kick long, so we've got to add that. That's something that this last game, particularly with Sam Walsh, he's added a lot of 1-2 passes, so the handballs are going to be super important for Carlton, as well as that metres gained. And that's what we'll be looking for. We'll be looking for your Sards, your Walshes, to really exploit that weakness of theirs, because sides that do hit handballs well have had a lot of success with that run and carry method. So let's look at some players that historically have done well and who we're going to have to stop. And the first gentleman we're going to look at is a no stranger to Carlton Football Club. That is Alex Sexton. Now, we know he's a forward, and against us, he does have his days out. 2.3 tackles per game. He really does help apply that pressure, and 1.7 goals versus us. And Sexton hasn't been in much form this year. He had a poor game last week, and he kind of is a naggly matchup just with his size and his height. He moves really well as well, and so there's some things that metrics don't tell us. And one of them things about Alex Sexton is his ability just to drag players. He's got that very Tom Papley ability that he likes to drop deep for the ball, which can cause you to come off your man. Now, I'd imagine that Plowman will probably get this assignment. It suits him. Now, with Plowman, this is where he's looking at his midfield pressure. Now, for me, with Plowman, I discussed it last week as well in the groups, that I feel that Plowman is a very, very stellar defender. Definitely top 10 in the league for me. But if he's isolated, that's where the issue is, and that can go for many of the defenders in the competition. If the midfield pressure isn't quite on and they get to have quality time deliveries to Sexton, that is where Sexton gets in them positions to hurt you. He's looking for the pressure to be applied, and anything that's 50-50, Plowman will win that. If it's more 90-10 in Sexton's favour, that's where Sexton can get off the leash. He needs quality ball, and he needs it played to his advantage. If he's fighting, Plowman will win, but he is a very dangerous player and some guy that who can, if he gets up and about early doors, can take the game away from you. Another guy we're going to look at who's going to be really working overtime here is Tuck Miller. 24.3 touches against Carlton and 9.8 tackles. He likes playing us, he's tough to the ball, he's intense, and he'll be looking to apply that pressure. He'll be a man that, you're looking to really try and break free of. And whether it's where he'll play traditionally, he has gone on Cripper, and he does give some time to Walsh. It's going to be interesting, because I think he'll take Walsh, and I think that's where Walsh is going to be really looking to try and deviate this guy, act as a decoy, free Cripper up, get involved. We're looking at the Shepherds here as well. That was a real strong point last week for Carlton. A movement off the ball to free up players like Cripps, Walsh and Williams was exemplary. And Miller, basically, whatever he sees, he stops. And he's very talented at what he does. A very mercurial player as well, because he's one of these rare guys that can stop you playing with a bit of freedom, but also benefit his own game. The other guy we're going to look at is Benny King. Now, this season he's had a real good year. 3.3 goals, 5 marks, and he's a very solid... Like, people talk about his brother, but for me, Ben King's in the same mould. He's a superstar talent. Combines agility with speed, with athleticism. He's the full package. Now, whether you give it to Jones and you say that he's going to play loose and he's going to look to spoil him, for me, I think this is a job for Wheaters. Wheaters traditionally does okay with these guys, and I think he'll be fine. You want someone to really lock him down, because if this ball comes in the air, a little bit like Harry, he will fight and he'll make a contest. And for me, I'd want to give it to my best one-on-one defender, and that is Jacob Wheaterin. This guy can take a game away from you quite quickly, and it's over before you do. Once he gets in amongst the goals, he's also very clever at bringing them down to, your Rankings and your Sextons. Got to watch him. But he is a danger man, and he's been playing well this year. For us, and the players they've got to worry about, and this one here plays into what we discussed when we were talking about what to look out for. That's Mark Murphy. Traditionally, in the last 5 games, and all these stats are last 5 games against each other, 28.8 touches against Gold Coast and 9 score involvements. And playing off that half-forward flank, now he's kind of a midfield forward. very important. We're looking for this guy's ball use. We're looking to give him some space across that half-forward flank. And traditionally, when we look at Gold Coast, you will have time in this area. It's probably one of the few areas that they probably don't close down enough with their structural defensive system. And Mark Murphy will be key to this. If he can get a few cheap touches out there and look to deliver it, and like we were saying, goal assist is something that happens from inside 50 against Gold Coast. They don't quite close that area down enough. The job's not quite done. This is where you'll be looking for Mark Murphy to do them cheeky little chips over the mark, bring someone in, and he's a very dangerous player. We'll be looking for his experience and his cool customer, but you've got to give him the space. You've got to give him the time and space. It's no good giving him it in contests. We want to be looking at him on the outlet ball. We saw that quite often with Walsh last week. He'd run, handball over the guy, Murph's in a bit of space, he's got the time to dance, and he hits him back up. He hits a forward up. That is what we're looking for from Mark. Next, we're looking at Cripper. Had a very good game last week, didn't he? And against Gold Coast, traditionally, he finds himself having a bit of time, doesn't he? 27 touches in the last 5 against them, 5 marks and a goal. And we're looking for that kind of number from Cripper. If he does that, Carlton will win comfortably. Cripps shows what he does well, and what he did well last week probably wasn't the goals and wasn't the numbers that he put up, but for me it was Cripps set the standard, set the benchmark. He went hard at it, physical, looked to give it off to your Walshes and your Williams as well. It was looking inside first, looking to give it the ball, and that's something that Carlton have to do, particularly Zach Williams. He's got to get used to that Cripper's going to be looking for him. Make sure you're there, make sure you're down on your left, because that's where Cripper likes to go. And against people like Miller and Ellis in that midfield and Bowes, that's what they're going to have to be doing. They're going to be looking to really run and carry in that area. Cripps get it out, handball away, off we go. Early inside 50 entries, really hit up and use that 6-and-6 advantage to ourselves. Cripper's going to be key to that, because if he gets up and about as well, he'll start drawing the attention of your Bowes, of your Ellises and of your Millers. He has that natural ability to drag players out of position. And Cripper won't fear Gold Coast. He knows he can do it. And the other guy is Mr. Zach Williams. Now, Carlton are actually, incidentally, the most clearances per game in the AFL this year. And it's kind of an unforgotten stat. And I always find it funny with Carlton. People aren't talking about it. And I think, why aren't we talking about it? Because that's a phenomenal start. But Carlton are #1 clearance side in the AFL. Top 5 for disposals, top 5 for goal assists. And we're limiting uncontested marks. We're top 3 in the comp for uncontested marks against. And that's a real high start. Real high start, because it shows that our pressure, particularly last week, has been really on point. And obviously the last week it was so good that it really shot us up these rankings. And one guy that I look at for this to suit what Gold Coast are good at and also where you can hurt them is Mr. Zachy Williams. This year, 20 touches and 8 clearances in 2021. And the bright pink boots does it again, doesn't it? His entries are really efficient inside 50 as well. He hits targets, and that is really key for Carlton. What we're looking for from Mr. Zachy Williams this week definitely will be more of the same for him. Top 20 he is in total clearances, top 6 in clearances per game, top 3 in stoppage clearances per game. Bearing in mind he didn't play one of the games, that is phenomenal for what he's doing. He's really nailing it. And that's what we're looking. 5.5 inside 50s. 3 of them have become scores. So he's really high in that efficiency. And that's what I'm looking for him, because he's going to find himself a bit of space and time, looking to really get that run and stun game going, because he likes to receive that handball from a clearance and go himself. And that's where we'll be looking at these players. My prediction for this one is quite high. I actually think Carlton are going to win this one by easily 5 or 6 goals. I think Carlton will really go off. I think it's going to be a really important game. But they're the numbers. Let me know what you're thinking. Where are you guys and girls thinking Carlton are going to win this? Do you think it's tougher than I've made it out? We'll know on Saturday afternoon. But let me know what you're thinking. Until next time, Pommy out.